Welcome to Hashtag with Navguzi Chwanuka. This is a place where we help you unravel social constructs, discuss self-development in line with mental health, emotional well-being, and everything in between that directly or indirectly affects us in the millennial world around us. If you're hearing my voice for the first time and are the kind of person who is not scared of being a better version of yourself even if it requires you to contradict who you were 24 hours ago, consider this your virtual home. I'm your host, Navguzi Chwanuka, and I cannot wait to engage with you in the various conversations. Hey y'all, welcome back from the Take a Pause month, and thanks so much for joining me for episode 76 of Hashtag with Navguzi Chwanuka. We will get right into the conversation after a word from our sponsors. This episode is sponsored by Edge Press Cloud. They are dedicated to helping you create an internet presence for your brand, your business, firm, and anything you can think of that can have a website. Edge Press Cloud gives out lifetime.com domain registration to its customers. You can check out my website, nabguzichwanuka.com, to have an idea of what you too can get from their services. For more information about their services, visit edgepress.cloud. One of the wonders I would swear was impossible to find was someone dabbling as a doctor and a comedian. On set with me today is Dr. Hilary Okello. He is the only medical personnel in Uganda making a living from comedy. The first time I saw his profile on social media, I was sure doctor is just a title he picked on to stand out amongst his fellow stand-up comedians. But to my shock, he was indeed a doctor, and since then, I have been very curious about how he found himself at the intersection of science and art. Our conversation explores his childhood, his love for medicine and fun, the importance of a tribe that encourages your craft, and so much more that you will get to hear in the conversation. If something resonates with you during our conversation, please share with us on social media with the hashtag HTNKInsation. Here is our conversation. Okay.
But it's nice to see you, by the way. I think this is the first time we are meeting.
Well, I saw you on stage.
Yeah, like in person, like shaking hands. Did we even shake hands?
Oh, can we do it now?
It's weird. It's weird.
We've done it now.
It's weird, but it's nice to see you.
Nice to see you too.
Great. I love what you're doing with the podcast. I'm an ardent listener. The thing I like about your podcast is you ask very, very, very deep questions, right? Mm-hmm. So like you go where people don't expect you to go. So I hope people are not surprised.
Let them sit tight.
Yeah.
Let them sit tight. Help us understand what Hilary Okello looked like. 8 years old. Who are you before you even go that far? For someone who has not even heard your name, who is Hilary Okello?
Well, I'm a student of life, so I'm always trying to learn and get better. I'm a medical personnel. I studied clinical medicine. I do stand-up comedy, and that is in terms of profession and career. But origin, I'm from Lira. That is Lira. I don't like to call it a city.
Why?
No, like I don't know what it is about Ugandans and cities, but I like to keep
status.
Maybe status, but I don't see any difference between the district and the city. So, and I'm from Lira, but Lira is split into everything.
Lira, those are Lango.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Someone told me Langi is wrong.
Yeah, it's Lango.
Lango.
I'm a Lango.
Oh, yes. You don't pronounce the G.
The G is not there.
Lango.
Lango. Yeah.
Hi.
That's why it's Kopango, not Kopango.
Come on.
So there's a certain sex tone to it, right? It sort of slides. So Lira is split into everything, Otuke, Aleptong, you know. My dad is from Otuke. So to some extent, I would say I'm from Otuke.
Yeah.
Because that's where father's home is, that's where grandparents are from. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I grew up mostly in Lira and Kampala.
Lira and Kampala.
Yeah.
Did you just was it like another thing we started in primary, rural-urban migration?
Why did we migrate from the urban?
Did you just move? You had two homes.
I think I moved when I was still young, because I was born in Lira, but most of my childhood was in Kampala. Because I even did my kindergarten in Kampala, nursery school. I did my primary at Nakasero Primary School.
You're an urban one, eh?
Hey,
My friend, I started from villages.
Let me. You don't know we don't know where the story is going. So I did Nakasero Primary School till P5, and at that point I was so fluent in Luganda. Like I was so fluent, I didn't deserve the name Okello. Like I was supposed to be Mukasa or something. Senkubuge, Sewankambo, something. I was so good in Luganda.
Yeah.
And my dad was not happy about it.
Oh.
So you can imagine I was in P5.
What problem did he have with that?
No,
did he have a problem that you were fluent in Luganda and had problems with the language?
Almost didn't know Langi. Like I was not fluent at all. I wouldn't hold a 2-minute conversation in my mother tongue. So he told me, he said, no, you cannot be here. You are speaking Luganda.
Oh,
but
my
you can't speak Langi. So P6 and P7, he took me to Lira, and I studied in a school called Adiel Boarding Primary School.
This is just because of the language?
This is because of the language. And of course, at first, there's that cultural shock. You're very confused.
What did you...
like the food. What did you find? Food is different.
What did you find there?
The food tastes different, the colleagues, the classmates that you find, there's a different lifestyle.
What was different?
Classrooms, right? Would sit in desks and the whole class is packed. There's no space. People don't have bags, right?
Oh.
People come with...
So you were the only one with a bag?
I was among the lucky ones. Because most in northern Uganda, most kids have this. It's like a strap.
Okay.
Yeah, you've seen like these African print bags that ladies have. So there's a strapping, and then it's sort of like a square. So you find it's like maroon. It's just a maroon kind of material. Yeah. And that is the bag.
So I'm assuming they might have been tailored.
Yeah, most of them are tailored. So it was that kind of life, waking up to go for church. To wake up like at 5. Yeah. Every Sunday, and then you walk from school up to the cathedral. You go in the cathedral, you go and sit behind the piano. There was like a piano on stage.
Yeah, so the stage.
Like on
please, church.
In the church.
What
is it called? I'm used to calling anything where people stand on a stage. What is it called? What is it called? Is it not a stage?
Where the altar is.
Yeah, where the priest is talking.
It's not a stage.
What is it called?
I don't know. I just know where the altar is.
Okay, the stage-like portion of the church. So there was like a big old piano, and they would put all of us behind there.
How many were you?
The whole of, because boarding was P6 and P7. Mm-hmm. So I think we're close to 200 or less. So there are some who would be in the choir. Some would be with, depending on how smartly dressed you are, how presentable you are. So they put you where people see you. Then us who look very weird, we haven't ironed.
Even you, the Kampala one.
We haven't ironed.
Even you, the Kampala one, you didn't much. Hey, you represented us terribly.
Very terribly. So would be behind the piano, sleeping, dozing, having conversations in church. So it was all of that, because you're not used to that kind.
You weren't going to church back at home?
No, I was going to church back at home, but it wasn't that kind of hassle. Because in Kampala, we would go to Christ the King. Now, compare. And the hymns are sung differently, you really feel God is in your presence. But it was fun.
Yeah.
It was fun. And I remember in Adiel, there were like 2 churches for the Catholics and for the Protestants. Mm-hmm. So every often would go to the cathedral once in a while. But most Sundays, there was this new church that they were building next to our school. It had no lights, no sound system, nothing. It was made of the brick walls, but it has not been finished. There's no furnishing or whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm a Catholic.
I know.
But
I noticed when you say Christ the King.
The Protestant church it had swag. Like it had.
Are you serious?
You know what I mean? Like there was lights, there was flowers, there was all of that. Right, but the other one was still being constructed. And the other interesting thing is with the Protestant church at that time, they would allow like people to perform and sing and dance. Then they would give people
during the service.
Yeah, during the service they would give people like biscuits and juice. So you sit there and ask yourself, should I go here?
That was a bribe.
It was like a bribe. So there are times when, and because I used to like singing and being part of those activities. So I would end up going. There's a time when I stopped even going to the Catholic church. So I'd always go to the Protestant church.
The school wasn't strict?
No, it wasn't strict. It didn't have like a list that said Hilary, Okello, Catholic. Yeah. So it'd go the other side, and I don't understand the service because I'm not used to this Protestant service.
Friend.
But I'm just...
I've never understood.
You've never understood?
I have never... It has no order.
It has no order. They stand anytime.
They're just there freestyling.
Freestyling throughout. Like, if what are they called? Are they called priests? The reverends? Reverends, yes. If the reverend decides we should stand, you stand. Like, there's no protocol. But the thing I loved about the Protestant church at that time was just the performances. So we'll just go and be mumbling at the back, waiting. When the reverend says, okay, now if anybody wants to sing for us or to dance for us, then we just raise our hands, we go in front.
Wow.
And we sing those songs, by the rivers of Babylon, those kind of songs.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then some people come and give you money and you get biscuits, juice. You're like, church went well. It was a good Sunday.
It's not even about what preached.
Nah, we don't know what they preached on that day, but we ate biscuits. So that was the fun.
Coming to you as a medical personnel. Let me tell you something. I don't remember when I made friends with you on social media.
Yeah.
But I thought the doctor bit was just the way how someone calls themselves the president of the ghetto.
Brand yourself. You're like His Excellency. Yeah.
Thank you. And then one time I think you posted a picture of you in the gun, and I was like, this is real?
A lot of people are surprised by it.
This is real?
A lot of people are surprised by it. I think it's because I don't practice as much. So most of the stuff people see is because I brand myself as a comedian. So most people see stage photos and backstage and all of that. So I don't post a lot of photos in me.
There are a few.
Clinical court or something.
I think I've seen like two. I don't know. So the very first one I was like, this is real.
There are very few. There are very few.
Were sciences something that you wanted to do?
Yeah, I was very deliberate about it. Like I think from my childhood, from your childhood, it's like there's like a handful of professions that you know about.
Right.
I don't think you knew podcasting at all. How do you explain to your mother? At 4 years, when they ask you, what do you want to be when you grow up? It doesn't podcast that kick you out of the house.
No, I wouldn't have been kicked out. I'm certain. But
okay.
I didn't know it.
They would kick me. At least I know my father. They would kick me out. Podcaster, we've never had.
We've
never had. Please, let us be serious. So I think with Ugandan families, I think the average Ugandan family, there's like a handful of professions. It's either an engineer, or you're a doctor, or you're a nurse, or you are a teacher, or
a lawyer.
So it's just a handful to pick from. But as you grow up, you realize, wait, you can also be a DJ and make money. You can also be a journalist and this and that. So for me, I think the thing that really drove me into medicine is I just like to answer some questions that come with life. So I just found, of all things, I found medicine very fascinating.
Oh yeah?
Because I just thought if you talk to someone, you tell them your problem, and it says, okay, go and take metronidazole, so it will help you.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, how does he know it will help me? That is very interesting.
Yeah.
So when I went to high school, I said, I should do medicine.
When was that you realized? That's like before A level? You had already decided?
O level I hadn't yet decided. But I have a couple of relatives who are nurses and the like. So they kept telling me, you should do medicine.
Yeah.
And my mother and my father have always had that concrete, parents, they have, you know that Ugandan parents, they know you at 40 years. Like they plan your life before you plan your life. So every time I'd have a conversation with my mother, she's like, okay, so now Hilary, what you do, finish senior 4, you go and do PCB, you'll go to Makerere, you study, when you finish, you get a job in a clinic or something, then you join government, then you work.
Then you join government.
Yeah, because that's in their mind.
Whoa.
From their, this is the thing I've learned, from the generation of our parents, that's the mindset they have about life. So you join, they like the certainty of life that comes with working for government. You have a job in a government hospital.
And I just learned about this, how many years ago? I don't know.
It's how our parents are. So in the minds, with the conversations I had with my parents, that's how I understood it. I knew that is what they see for you, and that's where all their effort is going to. They want to pay your fees, they want to see you graduate, get a job, and they pray you get into government.
Wow.
Because with government, there's that certainty of payment, of salary.
That's what I'm talking about. I just learned about it because there is someone who wanted to enter the government, to work with a government hospital.
Yes.
And I was like, no, people aren't paid. And then she was like, it's not about that. If I leave and go for school, I can always return.
I can still get,
I was like, oh, okay. So that is
people
also
don't want
a plan.
that stress of looking for a job. They don't want the fear of, what if I lose my job next week? What if our medical center gets an issue and I get unemployed? So the being within the government circle means at least you're sure you have a job.
There's a job, there's job security.
There's job security.
Yeah.
So that's the mindset.
I mean, even the ghost has security.
The ghosts are employed. Who are you? So it's from an early age I learned that's what my parents were thinking about. And
you were having conversations with them?
Yeah. It's not like I'm the one who even starts the conversation. It just comes out of nowhere. Like from your results, you've passed fine art very highly with a 95.
Yeah.
But chemistry, you have 30%, and your mother is like, now, you listen.
Whoa.
You cannot fail chemistry.
Oh my God.
You have to be this, do this, do this, do this. Then she reads for you your life in front of you. So by senior 2, senior 3, you already know this is like what they have planned for me in their minds.
And there was no chance no, I don't like that.
No, there was a chance. There was a chance. But genuinely, I wanted to do medicine.
Yeah, you talked about that.
Because I just wanted to understand how medicine works. In fact, to show you how serious I was, when I finished senior 4, and it was time to pick a combination of what subjects I'm going to do, I'd passed history highly, English, and all those, weird subjects.
Weird. You're not calling them weird after leaving.
All the other subjects, geography and the like. And I applied, they let you apply to different schools and then they select you. So I remember going to, which school is that? It's a St. Joseph something. And they had given me Hell and Submath. There's another school that had given me, I think, Meg or something. But I wanted BCM, Biology, Chemistry, and Mathematics. So I went to Our Lady of Good Counsel, it's in Gayaza, and they had given me BCM. And my father said, so what is the plan? I said, of course I'm going here.
Yeah.
And that's how I ended up doing that. Because for them, from the results I have, they said, if he wants to do sciences, let him do sciences.
Yeah.
So that's how I ended up there. But if I wanted to do Hell or whatever, I would have gone and taken up the opportunities.
We're hearing your mother, now Hilary, you have to do this. What did the young Hilary look like?
I think very excited about life. I think throughout life, I've just made it an aim to have fun. Like generally. So if you meet old friends, OBs or students that I went with to school, I'm a standout character. So everybody remembers me. Everybody, teachers, I go back to schools, they're like, hey, Hilary, how are you?
Yeah.
So everybody has you in their mind because I was always trying to just have fun. I never thought about being number 1 in class.
It wasn't a goal.
It wasn't a goal. But it was, of course, it was something they told you before you went to school. They're like, next time, we're tired of being number 5. I think in primary, I was like number 5, I think like 20 times. And my mother kept complaining, why are you consistent? Can't you progress? Yeah? At least 4, number 4. And for me, in my mind, I'm like, 5 is good enough. I just go to school, I join the drama class, join music. I just want to have fun.
Yeah.
Then I read my books, pass. As long as I pass, I'm good to go.
Number 1 wasn't that important.
Number 1 wasn't the goal.
Yeah.
Number 1 wasn't the goal. Although now I have siblings. I have a sister who is very intelligent. Like she's 1 or 2 all the time.
Yeah.
And every time they're reading the results. My mother looks at me and says, you see, this is now a forecast person.
Wow, they're still taking you back.
They're still taking me back.
You tell them, hey, I moved on.
Yeah. But it's that kind of mindset where the parents believe if you're number one, then you'll make it in life.
Yeah.
So they have that thing. And I keep telling my siblings, it's not about being number one. Just have fun. That's what I tell them honestly. I tell them before years to come, you'll remember the years you were at school. You won't remember anything you did. So I always tell my brother, my sister, I tell them, you join a club. You know, when it comes to sports day, be a goalkeeper or something. You run. Yeah. You know, because those are the things that actually make life what it is. Because if you just sit down and read your books from morning to evening, and you don't have time to have conversations with friends, then what is life? As someone who loved to have fun, were you ever suspended? Never. You were always within the confines of the law? I think the thing about the laws in school is that you can bend them. How exactly? I was within the spectrum of having fun. I always loved to be in leadership as well. So I was always... I think in primary I didn't engage a lot in leadership. But in secondary is when I remember when I was in Ginger College, I was a prefect because I just like to pick up challenges. So I was always, I always loved to pick up such challenges because you want to learn about leadership. You want to learn how to be in charge, how to make things happen. I don't like to see things happen. Like if there's an event, I want to play a role. If I'm not the MC, I should be helping guys with maybe setting up the chairs or doing. I don't want to be the one who just arrives and sits down. So I always liked, to participate in making things happen. So because I was a prefect, it sort of made me disciplined. Oh, so how much I have fun. You had to be exemplary. I had to be exemplary. So I was one of those prefects that people just loved because I'm having fun. I'm part of you, yes. We are having fun. I'm like, by the way, don't step the flowers. Because I will take you to the teacher. So they're like, yeah, let's have fun, but let's not step the flowers. Oh, yeah. So they understand where you're coming from. So as you're having fun and doing all of that, they're like, by the Hilary is a prefect, so let's keep it with it. But I think that's better. I heard there was this girl whom we would speak Luganda with. She was a prefect. Then when you're done with the conversation, she writes your name. That's just me. We were talking and you spoke Luganda. Yeah, we're talking together. People always wonders about us. Be careful with that one. Those are snakes, man. Those are snakes. And by the talking about vernacular, I remember in primary, we had this thing in Lira where they would get like a bone. I think it was you've been through that. I wore a sack and then the very last one. You should get a medal from the Kabaka. There were cards, exactly. I've ever joked about it when I was still in school. Yeah. I got a card. I used to get cards in primary school, but I don't know. I think I just never cared to follow up where I leave them. Yeah. So most of the people, whenever they would follow up the chain, who was last with the card? Yes. It was always me. It was always you. But wouldn't you find someone else to give it to? I think I wasn't really interested in that. Yeah. Because now, why was there there was no that feeling of revenge, like I want to get someone else. No, because even the Luganda that I was speaking, it was not by accident that I was doing it. Intentional. It was intentional. It was more like a protective mechanism for me because the kids were bullying me. Because of how I was speaking English. So I felt like I'm safer in Luganda. I'm ready for the punishment. What was your punishment like? Before I tell you mine. There were canes in primary. Yeah. Then, I don't know at what point. Maybe the sacks came in P7. What is the sack for? Like you walk around in a sack? Yeah, on top of the uniform. Yeah. You get dressed. For how it's like a gown? Yeah. I don't remember how long it was. Then in senior 1, I think, senior 3, because I had cousins in senior 1, I made their day. We had chats, they placed chats. They even found me sleeping in class. And the prefects called me out and they stepped on. But you were notorious. You speak Luganda, you're sleeping. Can you do one thing right? Can you choose? In O-level, I was wild. Choose something. At least be known for sleeping only. So they stapled those charts, like
stay far away from me. I am something like infectious.
On your uniform, yeah.
I'm infectious, something of that kind. I was like, okay.
You had an interesting childhood. We should do a podcast where I ask you questions now. So I think that was it. For us, we also had a similar thing. For us, it was like a bone. I think it was either for a chicken.
That was very tiny.
Yeah, because like you should be able to pocket it.
These ones had to be worn. They were really huge bones.
Yeah, because for us, it was all about, that's just to identify. So the prefect would move around when the week begins on a Monday. And he finds you speaking Luo and he gives you the bone. He pulls you aside. I don't know why they're very subtle about it. He pulls you aside. He's like, you are speaking Luo. Here is. Like they don't make it loud. It's not a public thing.
Why?
And people are very sneaky. Person is like, yeah, sorry. He picks the book in his pocket, and he also moves around looking for people who are speaking Luo. In fact, the ones who even instigate, the ones who start it, right? He comes to you and says, "Hey, ole, itianeng o kopang," or then you reply, "Yeah, Barry says you are speaking Luo." He hands you the bond. So it can move to close to 30 people in just one day. So at the end of the day, the prefect comes and follows up and finds out how many people. Then that goes on till the end of the week. Then on Saturday is when the game
general punishment
the games begin.
What happens?
Would go to the dormitory, the P7 dormitory, and then they would line you up. So they would send you to go and call whoever you gave the bond, and he would also call whoever gave the bond. So there would be like a line of 30 culprits who come from just one bond. And I don't know why they used to call it. I think they used to call it the Champions League, sort of like that. Some football reference. And so they would line you up, and then the prefects start caning you.
Prefects?
Yeah, it's the prefects, not teachers. It was the prefects.
Cane.
To some extent, I think it is child labor or child abuse or something.
Prefects?
So, prefects, yeah.
Primary. That's sick.
That was sick. And they would use some of them were scouts. So they would use the ropes, the ropes that scouts would make where they tie them.
Were teachers aware of this?
Yeah, teachers were aware. If anything, they would approve. It was their life. It was their life. So the prefect would come with like a rope that is tied in so many different styles. The way scouts tie their things. And so they would beat you each. He makes one round, another prefect comes and beats you like that.
Whoa.
So that was their life.
That is sick.
And up to now, I don't know why it still exists. Like, I don't know, in Uganda as a whole, I don't know why speaking vernacular in school is still a bad thing. Because a lot of people finish school and then they're not fluent in their own mother tongue.
We have so many.
Which is weird.
We have so many.
You've seen people who come from abroad and then they come for Kwanjula here, and the speeches are just absurd. I don't know which minister is in charge of that.
We don't have that. We don't have that. So here we are having Okello under the umbrella of comedy and medicine. Is there any other person like that? Have you seen any?
In Uganda?
Yeah, let's start with Uganda.
In Uganda, no. I don't know any medic who is doing comedy. In South Africa, there's a friend of mine. His name is Dr. Riyad Musa. He's a comedian he's a medic and also he does comedy.
So is he the only one that you know?
He's the only one that I know.
And what does that make you feel like? Have you ever been in your medical suit and then someone knows you for comedy?
Yes.
What was it like?
It happened.
Was it shocking for them when they found you?
It's shocking for me.
Oh, how?
It's actually shocking for me. Because there's certain persona that you have when you're in a workplace.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like because you're a lawyer, right?
Yeah.
When you're in court. If somebody meets you there and they know you are the podcaster, they're like,
no, forget the podcast.
Yeah.
The noise on my Facebook.
Facebook. Or they met you at a party or something.
It happened to me this week, meanwhile. A client walked in and then she kept saying how she makes sales off Facebook. And I was like, wait, I have seen this name.
The name is familiar.
And I checked, and she was my Facebook friend.
Yeah.
So I was like, I hope she doesn't know me.
Like a conversational one, the one you always like their post, comment, and what?
No, she's the one who followed me at some point, and I remember seeing her pictures.
Yeah.
So I had to check, and I was like, oh, and I was like tiptoeing. I don't know.
Yeah.
I was just like, oh
You're
Lord,
playing it safe.
She better not see me. I am not the one. And because I was in charge of her.
Yeah.
Now I had to be, I was like, oh God, we are different people.
So it's weird. It's weird for you because you are in a different persona at that time.
Yeah.
So it happens to me a lot. I remember there's a time I was working in a medical center in Chireka, and it was a very tiresome day. It was a Saturday. We had a lot of cases. There was a lot of flu going around. Kids were crying and all of that. And this guy walks in with his daughter. I think she's like 12 years or something. She has been having convulsions, severe malaria. So we are rushing her to the medical ward to try to give her testosterone and medications and everything. And this guy looks at me and says, "Hey, Dr. Hilary." I said, "Yes, sir. Nice to meet you." He said, "You man, you're funny."
Oh God.
So you can imagine. So at that point, your mind is so focused on working on his daughter, but he's more interested in like talking to you and getting to understand. And they're also shocked also on their side because it's like, "So you actually." I thought you were joking. You're like, "No, actually I did." It's like, "Yeah, okay, so for how long?" And then they start questioning you. You're like, "Okay, can we first do this?" Because like your child is not okay. So it's a weird interface.
Yeah.
But it's a beautiful thing to some extent. Because at the end of the day, somebody says, "You know what? I'll keep coming back here because at least I know the person who works here."
Yeah.
There's an trust that is built. So far it has happened to me, I think 7 to 8, not more than 10 times.
Not more than 8 times. 10 times.
Not more than 10. Just a handful.
In how many years of practice is that?
I practiced in end of 2018.
2018.
So you count
4 years.
19, 20, 21, 22, that's 4 years.
And comedy?
Comedy.
How did you veer into comedy?
That's wrong.
Had you always been funny from childhood?
I don't know. Because, it's hard to say I was always funny. But I would say I always loved the fun, right? So, like, if you're in class and then people are talking, or this class is quiet, and the teacher says something, and then you heckle or you respond, and people are like, "Ooh, that is funny." And then there's a whole, just a wave of laughter that is going around. So I just like to do that. So whether it was in the chemistry lab, and people are all serious, and
you're going to burn people with acid and all those things. Why were you making?
I just like the fun
in the lab.
Like I did.
That is risky business.
It's risky business, but at least we die laughing. Like it.
Oh wow! See,
I always found it very cringy to be in an environment where people are too serious. You know what I mean? And I don't know if it's just me, but I tend to remember things if they are fun.
Yeah.
So whether it was a
and then you start laughing a lot.
biology lecture class, and we're doing this dissection of rats and all of that. And then as the teacher is explaining, you're like, I killed a rat today. And then people are laughing. It helps people remember. Because there are times during exams, that pre-exam moment, like 1 hour to the test, somebody comes to you and says, there's a joke you did last time. What were we learning on that day? So it helps them remember what you're actually discussing. So I always found it very hard to be serious, even through medical school. I always found it hard to be serious because I just have this affinity for fun.
Yeah.
Like, let's just have fun. Because that's how I've always looked at life. Just have fun.
And getting on stage.
It started in school, by the way.
Wow.
School. That was Ginger College.
Stage, and by stage I mean comedy.
Yes.
Wow.
School senior 3. So we had this club. I sat down one day and I asked myself, so which clubs can I join? In school there was, I think, what was it called? Interact. Interact was fun.
Interact club.
Because it was a single school. Junior college was a single school, so they always bring girls here and there. And I said, Okello, I think I should join.
Because of the girls?
There's a future, yeah.
There's a future.
Yeah. And but I didn't join Interact, actually. There was a lot of chaos.
I think there was also Youth Alive.
There was Youth Alive. So, but some clubs also needed subscribing, and I was broke. So you're like, even if there's girls, but that's how that. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. I'd rather take care of myself. So I joined one of the clubs. Called Current Affairs Club. So it was actually journalism. Yeah. So it was journalism. What I loved about them is every Friday on assembly, because assembly is every Friday, there was a slot for them at the end of the speeches. When teachers are done, they come on stage. We had this assembly like on the main road somewhere there. So there was like a raised platform where teachers would speak.
Yeah.
So they would come there holding their clipboards, and then they would just read stories of what happened during the week.
During the week, is it national-wide or school?
School, they would have school and then maybe some national interesting stuff. Maybe there's an artist who came to Uganda and then they sort of give that story. Or there was a football game that happened in school and then they narrate what happened. So I found it very interesting. And I decided to join when I was in senior 3. And when I joined, they were giving people slots. So who does the business, news, who does international entertainment. And I was like, okay, for me, I'll just do like stupid stuff. I'll just get there and just tell people the funny side of what happened in the week. And at that time, the president of the club was like, okay, that is interesting. We've never had that. So I joined. There were people in senior 6 who are, there's a guy in senior 6, his name was Timothy. He used to read the sports. I was always the last guy. Meanwhile, I work on my stories during prep. So you can imagine.
The night before?
Yeah, the night before. So people are reading books. People are busy cramming valencies and, barium, sulfate and all these things.
Yeah.
Me, on the other hand, I'm trying to find jokes in a football match that happened between our school and another school.
Yeah.
Or prom that happened between our school and another girl's school. So that on Friday, I'll just come ready with like 2 pages. Just get on the platform and I'll read. And almost every 3 lines, people are just laughing. People just laughing. And that is how, I became a thing in school. So, people knew me. So that's where the comedy started.
And did you have any awareness that you would get to that space?
In the comedy world? Mm-hmm. I didn't know. Because for me, every moment in school was just to have fun. So I just kept telling myself, I'm left with how many years? So up to senior 6, then we figure out life. So I didn't know if I was going to do comedy at all. I just knew that I'm having fun right now. I'll see if we shall have fun again in the future.
How did you get in the space then?
How did I get in the space? It's just a deliberate thing. The first point of contact with someone in the industry, when I was at Our Lady of Good Counsel, we went to Gayaza High School for some, I don't know what it was. And they brought some performers. I think it was sponsored by Mirinda.
Oh, yeah. Mirinda had those things going on.
So they brought some comedians and musicians and the like. And the first guy I met, his name is Dolly Bondo. I don't know if you know him.
I knew him.
So when I recognized him, I walked to him. I was in uniform. I walked to him and said, hey, I'm so-and-so. I'm Hilary Okello. I'm in senior 5. But I wanted to see how can I do comedy. Is it possible? He said, hey, it's okay. He just told me, do you have a pen? I said, yes. He said, write down my number. So he gave me the number of Napoleon Emma. Told me that's the guy in charge of recruiting performers for Laughter's comedy stage in Centenary Park. When it was holiday time, that's when I called the number, because now I'm home.
Yeah.
That's when I called the number and I talked to him. I said, hi, is this Napoleon? He said, yes. I said, my name is Hilary Okello and I want to do stand-up comedy. He said, okay, that is fine. Come to Centenary Park. You know where Laughter's is? I said, yes. He said, be here by 5. Meanwhile, the show starts at 10 or something.
No.
He told me, be here by 5.
10 in the night?
In the night, because the show starts late, 9, 10. Because most comedy shows...
You're a student?
No, it's holidays. It's holidays.
Even
yes,
then,
I'm a student, yes.
Even then, you're young.
It's not I'm not a student when you're back home.
You're young.
Yes.
Weren't your parents worried that you were outside at such hours?
So no, that's the time that he told me. He told me 5 p.m. Wait for me. Call me when you make it there. So I'm there by 5 on a Wednesday. I call him and he says, yes, I'm on my way. And he's not there. He's not even on his way. I think he came through at 8, clocking to 8, 7:30, coming to 8.
You didn't lose hope?
No, I was waiting because he's my only contact. There's nobody else I can talk to. So I waited for him, recognized him, I went to him, he said, hey, so you're Hilary? I said, yes. He told me, now, there's a gentleman you're supposed to see. His name is Sams. He told me, just walk in and enter the bar. You look for Sams. You'll find him. I don't know, they make it sound like you know the person already. It's like, you go, you'll find him.
But why didn't he tell you before? Instead of wait for that long?
No, that's how the industry is. So he told me, just walk in, look for Sams. He's the one who brings the new acts. So I walk in, I find, bars are, there's a corner of shisha and what, and guys are smoking shisha, I don't know what they're smoking, and drinks are everywhere, and he's in the midst of all of that chaos. So I walk to him, I talk to him, I introduce myself. He says, okay, do you have any video clips Oh, by the way, all of this is not when I was in senior 3. This is 2017 now. This university.
Okay.
I got the number, I just kept the number. I didn't have any video clips because where would I have a video from? I told him, no, you see, I'm still at campus, but I do a lot of events like hosting, I'm emceeing at school, and what's like, yeah, but if you don't have a video, then how do I know that you're as good as you say you are? So he tells me, since you don't have a video, if you get a video, send it to me on Facebook or something.
They were insistent. He was insistent on a video.
That was like his proof that you are good.
You couldn't just do it there and then?
Come on, it's a bar, people are drinking, people are doing what?
Yeah, you couldn't make them laugh.
And he doesn't really care. You know what I mean? It's
you
not
need
like,
him.
It's not like he really needs you. Be like, no, because if he really needed you, he would say, okay, let's first go here, tell me something and let's see. So he doesn't really care. It is you to prove to him. So I told him, if I get a video, I'll send you. And he sent me to, there's a bar next door. It was called Waikiki. It's now called Black and White, I think, today. There was another comedy group that was there. They were called the Punchliners. And he told me, what you do, you go there on Thursdays. That was the next day. There's a gentleman called Timothy Nyanzi. You look for him. So I've been referred to like 3 people now. Like you go to ask for a guy called Timothy Nyanzi.
Yeah.
He's in charge of like new comedians in that comedy group. Once he says you're ready, then we shall put you on Laughters.
Without the video? Without
the video. Because he trusts the other guy's opinion. So Thursday, I go back on my social media. I look for Timothy Nyanzi, send a friend request as usual. I look for comedians that I know in terms of where I'm from. So there's Daniel O'Mara, there's Agnes Akite. So those are like northerners.
Yeah.
Then there's a guy called Okello. Okello is a good friend of mine. So I inbox Okello. I told him, I'm so and so, I want to do comedy. He's like, yeah, it's okay. You come on Thursday and you'll meet me and Timothy and then we talk about it. So I go there on another Thursday, not the next Thursday. I go there on another Thursday. I find comedians there at the bar. People are chatting, talking. Emeka is there. Okello, Timothy, Akite, all these people are there. So their faces you recognize, their faces you don't recognize. And to some extent, you're like starstruck because like these are people you see on TV every week, right? So I approached Timothy. I talked to him. He's like, okay, so you're the guy they told me about. He said, okay, cool. I said, okay, so what we're doing right now is we're going through material. So if you have some jokes, let us go through them. We see how to make them better. Then there's always opportunity.
Oh, there is such thing as making them better.
Yes, making them better. Do you know that day there was a football game? I think it was Uganda Cranes versus something. So literally I perform to these guys when there's a game going on. So you're standing there, they're seated here. There's a screen right behind you. So basically,
there's a lot of, you're competing.
They're watching the game. They're not even looking at you, right? So you're doing your stuff. And people are looking at you, think they're looking at you, but they're watching the game. At the end of it, they're like, yeah, not bad. And on that night, there was a show, like they had a show on that Thursday night. And I thought I was going on. I thought I was going to perform, but I wasn't going to perform, apparently, because I wasn't on the lineup. You don't just come the first day you're there. It's the day you perform. So I wait. The show starts, I think, at 10 p.m. Meanwhile, I stay in Naguru, and I came walking, and I have to go back walking.
Wow.
Because I don't have money. I cannot get a border or something. So I'm there until 10 p.m. when the show starts. The first performer goes on stage, the second goes. So I go to Timothy and ask him, I say, so what time do I? He's like, what do you mean, what time do you?
Oh my goodness.
Stepping on stage. Like, no, you're not on the lineup.
After waiting,
yeah. I left, I said, but thank you, we shall keep in touch. I walked back home. So that was like my first contact with real contact with.
What did that feel like after you doing your, should I call it a trial day?
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, and then no, we're not.
It feels heartbreaking because like you come with all the vigor and all the energy and you have expectations. They're like at least today, when you're starting comedy, your only goal is to get on stage. Like that is all you want. All you want is to get on stage. So once you miss out on that, once you're denied the opportunity, it really breaks you. And I remember I just walked home. Kololo, very dark place. You're even scared of like thieves or something. But you also look at yourself, you're like, now what will they rob if they grab me? To some extent, you feel safe. You're like, even if thieves find me, I don't have a watch. So If anything, they should help me. So I walked home that night, and then I kept coming every Thursday for rehearsals.
Oh, you kept going?
I kept going. The second, I think at that point, I started looking out for comedy platforms, like competitions per se. So there was a competition. That's the time I was at campus. I was at Clark International University. And there was a competition with comedy files. So they put up this poster that is calling out for people who think that they're funny. If you want to do comedy, you come and sign up with us. So as usual, I'm excited. I'm like, oh, this is a good opportunity. So I was broke. I was at university. I didn't have cash or anything.
Yeah.
And it comes to a point where it's not just you who wants to get on stage. Even your friends, they want you to get on stage. They're like, bro, you're good, man. Why don't you do this?
Why weren't you like passing around a basket and you collect transport?
Support a brother. So
to achieve the dream.
To achieve the dream, yes. So I go to Theatre La Bonita because that's where the auditions were happening. And I go and find out what is necessary. They said, no, you just need 20,000 to sign up. I said, hey, 20,000. I was like, yo, where do I get that money? I can't ask my dad for 20,000 for a competition.
Banishment.
For what? So I asked the president, the guild president, who was a friend of mine. I told him, you know what? I have this comedy thing I want to go for. He's like, yeah, you should go by there for those things. I said, yeah. I said, but I just don't have money. He said, how much? He said, 20,000. I said, that's okay. He pulled out a 20K note, he gave it to me. He said, you go and do it. Just let me know how it goes. On that day, I walk up to the Theatre La Bonita. I sign up, so then they call me and they let me know, you know what, you've been accepted into this. The first auditions are on this day, at this time, come through. The auditions, meanwhile, were, because the lectures would end like at what time? Like at 7 p.m., 6 to 7. But the auditions were happening after lunch, so it was like, I think 2 or 3. So I had to skip a class. But even the lecturer understood. Because they all knew me. So
you explained that you're supposed...
I told him. Because I met the lecturer. They were all my friends.
Okay.
So I met the lecturer. I said, there's this comedy thing I want to do. He's like, yeah, you should go for this thing. Like they would all agree. They're like, yeah, you should do it. You're good. And I was like, yeah, so I might miss your lecture. It's like, no, it's fine. I'll send you the notes, email, this and this.
Oh, wow.
Just go and do your thing. And those are things that encourage you. Because you start to realize there are people who believe in you more than you believe in yourself.
Yeah.
Because you'd expect him to say, no, don't do it.
This comes first.
So he told me, no, please, go and do your thing. Just let me know how it goes. I come to La Bonita. We meet Daniel O'Mara is there, Napoleon, all these big guys, right? And then the thing starts. Say, okay, what we're going to do is you go on stage, you do 5 minutes. For the judges, there was no audience.
5 minutes is a long time.
Yeah. It's a long time when you're just starting, right?
It's a long time.
It's a long time.
Oh my God.
I don't know, you're talking like a comedian. I've done auditions. Anyway, we shall get there. I've done auditions of 1 minute, 2 minutes.
Ouch.
Anyway, so I get on stage. This was a time where I didn't even understand how jokes work, how you write them, how you build them, because there's a whole science to it, there's a whole art to it. But I don't do these things. But of course, being with the Timothys and the like, they would help you here and there. So they called me on stage. I don't even remember the jokes I did. There's a joke I think I did about a zebra crossing. I don't even know how it goes. Got a few giggles here and there. And before I left off stage, I think Napoleon made a comment. He said, I like the joke, but there's that part where he talked about like Northerners and what. Can you put an accent, add some acts to it, some actions to it rather. And I said, okay, I'll try to do that. He said, otherwise, good stuff. Mm-hmm. At the end of it, they call us back and I was in the top 5. And they said, now the top 5 will appear on the TV show. Mm-hmm. And we shall call you back on the day of the show, like the day when there's an audience, 200 people in the crowd. And you do the material, we record, and you'll appear on TV. Mm-hmm. So that's when the excitement kicks in. You're like, woo, nice stuff. The next week, I get a call from Sebachije, what's his name? Emma. Very funny comedian.
He was so funny.
So funny. So he called me. Said, yes, this is Emma from Comedy Files. I said, yes, sir. Said, so you are on the lineup for this Wednesday. They called me on a Tuesday. You are on tomorrow's lineup. Make sure you come smartly dressed, and we shall give you 5 minutes on stage. You are among the first performers. So I get on stage, I do my jokes, I get good laughs, and I walk off stage very, very happy. I think that day, what a day we were given 10K. Yeah, transport to appreciate you for the work done. And then, of course, you get the reviews and the comments. They're like, this is fine.
Your first time getting money, what was that like?
Out of comedy, like professional. 10K.
I started making money out of the thing.
Money. So at least there, when they ask you what has comedy given you, like, at least I have 10,000. I remember Seba Chiji called me backstage and he said, you did well. However, if you could add more Luganda to your act, right, you'll absolutely smash it.
And when you don't know Luganda, what happens?
No, because especially in Kampala, the audience is mostly a Luganda audience. Mm-hmm. They all know English, but there's something about the mother tongue that is more appealing and it gets a laugh easier. But where I'm trying to push myself is to be able to perform for somebody who doesn't know Luganda. Mm-hmm. So I think that was like the first big stage.
And here we are last week. Which week? 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago, you had your own show. Right. What was that like? It's your first one, I assume.
I would say like a comedy special. I've done shows, but I'd not done a comedy special. Mm. Now, this was a stand-up special. So this is like taped more than 1 hour and it's documented. So it's something that it's like a package, like a product, not just a regular show.
I sort of had this Dave Chappelle feeling. When you're walking on stage, I was like, okay. Feels like, okay.
But I always wanted to ask for your opinion. I never got a chance to ask you.
You'll get it.
I'll get it. Because you're in the audience, and I've always been asking everyone, how was the show? Mm-hmm. What do you think went well? What can we improve on? Yeah. But I'm glad most of the reviews are positive. People really had fun, and that was the idea anyway.
From the start, I was like, Okay.
And I didn't see you. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm so glad. I'm so glad because at some point you were pointing at people. I was like, because I was at the front and I swear I'm not sitting at the front again because a couple of people saw me. Like, we saw you. I was like, okay. No.
Your plan isn't to be seen.
Yeah. I am the one to see. I am the one to pick stories. Who is doing what, So I was like, okay, no, I'm not seeing in front again.
It was fun. It was fun.
Yeah. Congratulations. So when you walked in, you told me about your leg and how you keep getting infections. You said every after 4 months. What is it that happened? How do you cope with that? Because I imagine it's a lot of, I feel, is it tiptoeing all the time to be careful that you don't get infected?
So maybe for people who don't know what you're talking about, I'm disabled in a way. My left foot has what they call a foot drop. So a foot drop is when there's damage to some nerves on the leg. Yeah. This happened when I was young. This is information from my mother. Because she told me when I was young, I think about a year old or 2 years, I had malaria. And at that time, the treatment for malaria was quinine. So quinine was the drug of choice. Right now, it has changed. And they would inject you on the bum, right? That's how they would administer the drug. So information from my mother, she says, the nurse that injected me, because when it comes to injecting, when you're giving injections, there's a certain portion of the bum that shouldn't be injected because there are nerves that pass there. So you should the medical personnel should be very careful because you could inject the wrong place and it affects the entire limb. Yeah. So that is what happened. The nurse was not very professional enough. So there was some damage to the nerve. So she tells me, I think a few days later, I was improving, because I had malaria. So I was improving. But then she noticed a child who was walking is now crawling. Oh. It's like, what's wrong? What's wrong with my son? Because he has been walking, but now he's crawling. And then I went back to the doctor. No, it's fine. Sometimes it happens. Wow. It will get better. But then it never got better. Then I started walking again, but then a little bit of limp. And then so the foot, instead of being straight and steady, it drops because the nerve is not supporting the muscles. So that's what happened. So I underwent some surgery to be able to walk again. When I was still young, I think like 3 years or something. So it leaves me with a sudden limp when I'm walking. Some people don't notice it. Some
You
people
really
don't.
have to be attentive.
Some people don't notice. Like, there are people who've been with at school and they notice when you're graduating. That's
what I'm saying, because I was seeing you for the first time. I was like, okay, this is him. This is how tall he is. Okay. And then as time went on, I was like, wait. There's something.
Yes, there's something. Yes.
Yeah.
And by the interesting story, on that day, because right now as we speak, I'm actually sick because I have an infection.
Exactly.
The infection started last week because the show was last week on Friday.
Not last week. The other week.
The other week, yes. So, do you know that I did that show on painkillers? I had to take painkillers for the whole day.
You were already sick.
I was sick, but the show had to happen. So I was on painkillers.
And you were standing and walking for...
Yes, but the show had to happen. So I was on painkillers. That's why I didn't walk a lot. I was standing in one position because I like walking a lot on stage because it's more engaging.
Yeah.
But I couldn't. I kept pulling the stool to support myself every now and then. So the thing is with the foot drop sometimes, because the dorsal part of the foot, the top part of the foot, is not supposed to touch the floor. Because the skin is made differently, almost like the way the palms are. But because your foot is curved like this, so sometimes the dorsal part, the top part of the foot, engages with the floor. And yet the skin on the top is not as tough as the skin under. So the skin that is on top, which should not touch the ground regularly, often touches the ground. And so it easily gets bruised and gets wounds every now and then. So it's a challenge I get here and there. Probably every 6 months or like twice a year or once a year, I'll get an infection, and I'm very careful about it. So I'm always in shoes or sandals, or you'll never see me walking barefoot.
Or to protect
myself, yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's uncomfortable for me at first. It's uncomfortable, but also it's risky for me.
And how was that in school? Because we come from different backgrounds.
There's that. I remember, I think, because there's a lot of bullying that comes into play. But because I'm generally a very nice person, like, you can't hate me. I remember I had instances of bullying. In primary, I was fine. I had a few guys here there who would come to you and laugh at you and call you names. But then, when they get to know you, they're like, yo, this guy is funny. He's a very nice person. So their mind.
So if you weren't funny.
So if you are not, I think that's also probably the origin of the comedy or something, because it's more like a protective skin that you wear to sort of prove to people that I'm just like anyone else. What I thank God for is that people who have that mindset when they first meet you and probably they belittle you or talk down on you, is that a few days later, when they get to engage with you, their mindset completely flips. So I've had people in high school who, because of their background, they don't respect others, so a person keeps calling you names. But then a few weeks later, he's hugging you, he's buying you stuff.
No apology. Oh, they're buying you stuff. They're apologizing.
They're buying you stuff. I think that's a sign. That's a sign of apologizing. So I've never had very physical fights or anything. I'm not into that. But definitely there are those people in the world. But I always sieve through it.
Yeah.
And I don't put my mind into it. So I just live life the way it comes.
In your coming to that space of you with the dropped, do you call it a dropped foot? Foot drop. Oh my God. I'm hearing it for the first time.
You should Google it.
I will. I think I'll learn it. With a foot drop, you being a comedian, wearing it as a skin. Is there a moment in your life where you faced a crisis? And by crisis, I mean a mental health crisis. Is there a moment that you had to go through that?
When I was still young, I think in my P5 or something like that. Because when you're young, you have hopes. So when I was young, I remember there's a time I think I felt really down. Because you look at yourself and you think, because there's some shoes I can't put on. I used to love football, right? But I couldn't play football. So I would always be like a goalkeeper or something. Because when I was young, I used to play a lot of football. But with time, there's a lot of pressure that goes onto the foot. So you start feeling the pain and you think, nah. And you get worried, if I get injured, if I break a leg, it gets worse for me. So the thoughts sort of overwhelm you. And every now and when I was young, every now and then you just get to cry alone and just start asking yourself, but God, why me? Why did this have to happen to me? But then you wake up the next morning and it's a new day, so you have fun.
Was there a moment when your parents maybe walked in on you on a breakdown?
No.
So they weren't aware?
Never. Never. But I think there's a time I talked to a cousin of mine, when it overwhelms you. He says, no, it's fine, you're going to be fine, everything will be okay, That's how life is, but we have to keep moving. So then you move on.
And as an adult, how do you take care of your mental health?
I'm a very open person. So there's a handful of people that I talk to, like open up to. Because there are times when I've had issues probably with my parents regarding my career choice. Because until date, they are still not yet okay.
With you doing comedy?
Convinced. They're not convinced that comedy is the best choice for me.
Wow.
So, I remember there's a time when I was working on radio.
Wait, there's also that.
There's a lot of stuff. How much time have we done? There's a lot of stuff. And we are skipping and jumping.
There is also that, you are too much. Journalism, medicine, comedy.
So there's a time when I got the radio gig and I was going to start working on radio. My dad wasn't happy about that.
Wow.
He was like, no, you didn't study journalism. Why are you working on radio? Why don't you go and get a job in a clinic and work in a clinic? But then for me, I'm looking at this as, look, I have fun on radio. Because for me, my life has always been about fun. I wake up in the morning, I get on air with my colleague, we laugh about everything happening in the country for 4 hours, and I'm out of the studio and I'm paid well at the end of the month.
Yeah.
So why would I go to a clinic and stress from 8 to 8? Because you work from morning to night. Right? You even sleep there. There are places where you even sleep at the place. So for me, in my mind, I'm like, at least for me, this is better than the other.
Yeah.
So there are those conflicting moments where you have, and I'm a very obedient person. So I really want to make my parents happy. But also now such a crisis happens where you want to be happy, but then you also have to
You want to be you.
You want to be you, but then you also want to make them happy. So there are those moments as an adult. I remember that moment happened, and it wasn't easy, but I had people that I call, I have friends that I call, and you have a candid conversation with them, and at the end of it, you feel better. And then what is interesting is the thing I've learned about doing comedy and doing any other thing other than medicine is that every time I achieve something, my other relatives, this is the beauty about it, my other relatives, they always call my parents.
Oh,
you see what I mean?
Do you know what I thought you were going to say? They claim me.
They claim, of course, they claim, but they call my parents to tell them what Hilary has done. So I can have a show in Arua or Gulu, and I'll find an uncle there, and he's like, oh, Hilary, I've seen adverts, you're coming to Arua.
Oh, yeah?
I'm like, yes, I'm coming. He's like, yes, let me come, I'll buy a ticket, I'll buy a table, I'll bring my friends.
Wow.
So he works for an NGO, and then he buys a table, he brings his friends, that's my nephew right there. And then you have the best show. And he goes and calls your parents what Hilary hasn't done to us. This boy is you have a son who is very talented. So then your father sits down and says, but you can't complain because he's doing well, right?
Yeah.
Then you go to Lira. I remember I went to Lira for a show, and my mother is in Lira. At that time, my father was also in Lira, but they all never came for the show. But I have family that came for the show, like cousins and uncles and everything. And they always knew that Hilary is a comedian, but they have never watched you live. So they're this is our chance to watch Hilary.
Yeah.
So they all came for the show. At the end of the show, they say, I don't know why, but I have to call your father. It is them that always send the news and say, your son is blessed, he's really, really, really good. So personally, I never engage in that conversation. It's not like you call and say, yeah, the show went well or what. No, it's the family that does that. Then there are videos sometimes that are on TV, you appear on TV, and your cousin watches you or something, and during family gatherings or something, they're like, Hilary, by the last time I watched it was very nice. Something like that. So then there are videos that trend on WhatsApp or social media, and it ends up on my father's whatever, and then he watches you, and then people forward his workmates at...
And has he ever said anything?
Yeah.
Like you're good?
No. He has never said you're good. I think he's only...
What compliment has he managed to come up with?
I think, not necessarily a compliment, but I think the concern of my parents has always been around the industry as a whole, because with entertainment, there's a lot of drugs.
Yeah.
You know, there's all of that kind of bad behavior per se. So it's a conversation we had even before I sought out to do comedy, because my parents told me, you want to do this, but, you know, there are a lot of musicians and, you know, they do drugs and weed and all of this. And I said, for me, I'm not going for that. I just want to go and do comedy. And make as much money as I can out of it. And I remember I told my dad, I'm from a poor family and I just want to use everything that I can to make money.
Yeah.
So if I can work in a medical center, I'll do that and make money. If I can work on stage and make money, I'll also do that. Whatever I can, I will do it to try to make my family better. So from that conversation is when he understood what I wanted. He always appreciates me for my effort in being straight. So he says, what I like about you is when I'm going for shows or anything, I always inform him and say, you know, I'm traveling to Morocco to have a show. I'll be back in 2 days. I always keep him updated, and he has never had like bad reports. Nobody has ever called him and said, Hilary has done this and this. He was fighting with so and so. He was drinking and threw bottles and such.
Yeah.
It's like, what I'm happy about is that you're finding your path. You're doing things that represent me well, right? So you're not out there spoiling the name of the family. You're actually doing well. So I think those are kind of things that make me sort of calm down and say, yeah, so far so good.
So what words would you want the listener to walk away with?
You just have to go out in this world and try to enjoy every moment. That's what I live by. Just trying to enjoy every moment.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, I don't know, there's a saying in Latin, I think it's in Latin. It's about, if you translate it to English, it's something about, if you remember death, then you remember life, which basically means every time you remember that one day you will not be around is when you appreciate the fact that you're still around. So since you are alive, then just live.
Yeah.
Don't wait to die.
Don't wait to die. Don't wait for the deathbed.
Don't wait for the deathbed.
And you talked about probably 3 weeks or 4 weeks ago. You talked about having the show being streamed on Feza for the people that missed
for
the live show.
People that missed, because the show was filmed and produced. Hopefully it will be out by August 2022. So hopefully it will be out by then. I'm hoping to put it online. And you'll be able to find the details on my social media, on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, at Dr. Hilary Okello. I'll be posting where you can find it.
So they should be looking out for that.
You should be looking out for that.
And does someone get to contact you for anything?
Yes.
I don't think it's for doctor. Do they call you?
Yeah, people call me for that.
Okay.
I have friends who call me for that.
I'm going to start calling you. I'll try.
I have friends who call me like...
I'm going to try.
It's a challenge because the people call you like at night at 2 a.m. And like you're the only connection they have in the medical world.
Boy.
You know, and they're like, Hilary, I'm in this situation, what do I do? And then you give them advice. So your calls are welcome.
I don't know why it feels weird.
Your calls are welcome. Anyway, so for all of that, I do comedy performances. So
MC as well.
Could be emceeing, could be performing just at a wedding or an event, corporate event, so anything like the like.
How do they contact you?
On social media, Dr. Hilary Okello. My numbers are there. My email is there. Let me work on that. But of course, you can inbox me. I always reply to it.
You guys don't use email. He's not going to see it. You have to call and inform him there is an email.
You have to call me, but my numbers are all over the place.
Okay.
Yeah.
In his message of making every moment count, Dr. Hilary reminds us to be present at all costs, at all times. Make every moment count. Thank you for tuning into another episode of Hashtag with Navguzi Chwanuka. If you loved what you heard, make sure you subscribe to Hashtag with Navguzi Chwanuka in your podcast platform of choice and share it with your friends, loved ones, and every other person affected by the millennial world around us. Also, feel free to share your insights about what connected with you on social media and be sure to tag us. We are at Hashtag with Navguzi Chwanuka on Facebook and Instagram, and on Twitter, our handle is at HTNK Podcast. Endeavor to check out our website, navguzichwanuka.com, for more insightful conversations. Catch you next week, and until then, remember to make every moment count.